Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to World at War Comics podcast. My next guest is a legend in the comic book industry, Mr. Larry Welz. Been writing comic books, for a couple years. You're kind of a beginner, Larry, so we'll take it easy on you.
Really, I don't know how this goes.
I was just saying, what an amazing career. And we were kind of talking before we hit the record button. From when you started until now, I think comic books is a little bit different, huh?
Oh yeah, completely different. It's very strange, and uh, yeah, like I said, if anybody like one of these up and comers or something, they ask me how do you get into the comics? I have no idea how it works now,
Yeah.
and I just sort of got in it by I don't know accident or something. But I mean, it was a thing that was happening in in the Bay Area, San Francisco, that just a bunch of kids drawing comics, and I took them to the print mint, and they published them, and they go, "Oh wow, that's a surprise." And I never really felt like an actual pro. I never worked in a bullpen. I never did anything for Marvel or DC, and it was just a little side hustle that actually caught on, and so I went with it for a while. But yeah, it was just I don't know how it's done in real life, and but now, of course, it's not even. I'm not even doing comics anymore. I'm doing collector's items. What? Okay, whatever works, I guess. But yeah, it's strange. My audience is now collectors. It's not all the kids in the head shops, because that's where you used to get the stuff.
Yeah, it was quite wild looking up, especially in the Bay Area during that time, the type of comics that were coming out. You got a little bit of flack for the style of comics that you were doing at the time, and today it's very common to have those type of comic books. I mean,
Yeah.
what a difference 50 years makes, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah. I thought it was really strange to do an Archie, something like Archie, with sex and stuff, and like what real teenagers are doing and stuff like that. And now they do this Riverdale thing. And what? Wait, what? They have Archie screwing Miss Grundy, who's now hot in her Volkswagen. Wait, what? That's like nastier than what I was doing.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
also, though, the Vampirella, and the first one, Larry Todd did a Vampirella story, which we took out in subsequent printings. That's what made the first printing so valuable now, because it's unique. But anyway, we were so worried about them, taking issue with us, because my stuff, Cherry, is not direct parody of that. It's just a parody of the whole genre. But anyway, then well, since we've done we've redone number one, and we put that material back in. But the amusing thing is that now Archie Comics is doing Vampirella, and we thought of it first. Oh,
Exactly.
well, so should I sue them? Wait, that's just strange.
Now, as you and I think Larry Todd, there's quite a few of you in that Bay Area that were producing these comic books. Would you ever have thought that in the year 2024, the fandom around Cherry and everything that you accomplished would be as big as it is? I mean, you've had a really great Kickstarter, I think, and you still have 8 days to go. So who knows where it's going to end up?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, no, I didn't have any idea. I didn't think it was underground. We called underground. It wasn't actually underground, but from the standard comics in modern DC is underground from that. But no, I always just thought of it as being a this crazy thing that we did that was um, not in the mainstream stuff like that. So I didn't, and how much could you get? And that's, I mean, yeah, but I never suspected it. It was like Art Spiegelman when he got doing the mouse. What he was saying that, oh, when he got like 900,000 viewers or something like that, and they're still calling him a cult classic, and he's going, At what point is it mainstream? And what are we talking about here? So it's all relative, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I remember as a kid going to my comic book store. I'm about 50 now, just to give you context. But going to the comic book store, even in the the mid 80s, when I really got into comic books for the first time, I was about 10 years old, and really at that time it was just DC and Marvel. I know Dark Horse, I think, was coming out at that time. But as far as independent comic books, there wasn't a lot to choose from. It was either DC or Marvel at the time, at least my comic book store. I know in the Bay Area, the underground movement, what you call the underground movement, was probably a little bit more available. But you look at today, Larry, independent is getting huge, right? And I think the ability for anybody to bring their story to life is much simpler today than it was 30 years ago or 50 years ago, just because printing and all the steps to make your own comic book is readily available for anybody who wants to do it. Did you feel like it was really difficult at the time to produce a comic book strip at that time, or was it fairly easy like it is today?
Well, it was easy for me because I had a publisher.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just gave them the artwork, and they did it. So
yeah,
it's interesting now that now we're doing it. And now we get the books,
yeah,
and then we have to sell them. And but it's fewer books to do really smaller runs. I mean, we used to do runs of 10,000 at a time
yeah.
back then. They did, and I got a couple issues of it or something like that, and then that just went on, and I got a certain percentage, like what it was, 10, 25 cents a book or something like that, and so it was fine. Now we have to actually sell the stuff ourselves, pack it up, and send it, but we get to keep all the money. So
Yeah, I was looking at your Kickstarter. You have 541 people who have supported your Kickstarter, Larry. I mean, that is insane. I would hate to be the person that you have helping you package all of that when this is all said and done. That's going to take some
yeah,
time, I
well,
think.
that's my wife.
Yeah.
She's doing a very good job, and
Yeah.
oh yeah, but it keeps her busy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, Larry, as far as comic books and the movement from the 60s and 70s and kind of everyone for that nostalgia getting back into it, are you finding others that you work with at that time doing the same thing?
What
As far
yeah,
as some of the other creators that you were kind of with in that Bay Area?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was some of us that we just happened to be doing the same thing at our kitchen table, and yeah, and we sort of gravitated together, and uh yeah, and I didn't. I mean, I was like, I think of myself as like the second next generation or something, or next whatever wave of the undergrounds. The first being Joel Beck and Crumb and them, the Zap and stuff like that. But and that yeah, so they're like 10 years older than me, and so but I just happened to be yeah, well, yeah, and Dan O'Neill and the Air Pirates was doing it in San Francisco, and that actually attracted a lot of that's where I met Larry Todd,
Mhm.
and when he came out there, and Bobby London and like that. But yeah, there were and actually I've been wondering what happened to Jim Osborne. He was there, and he did some stuff. It wasn't really good, but he did some really good stuff. But he
Mhm.
was always trying to get the union going, or something, and get everybody together and do something, which was of course like herding cats in those days. But he was always there, and I'm wondering what happened to him. I'm gonna put that out there and ask about that. He was a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he still is, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah. And so here are me and Larry Todd, and I don't know who else, but as he said, and he's amused by it, that we seem to be the elder gods of the underground comics, in large part because we're still standing. We're kind of an endangered species.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're still alive and we're still doing it. And yeah, I had no idea that it would be like this.
Well, Sherry is still alive and kicking very well, it seems like, because the campaign is off to I think an amazing start. I think if I'm not mistaken, you have 8 days to go on your current Kickstarter. 541 individual people that have backed it, which is huge, and you're getting close to that $28,000 mark, which is absolutely, I think, fabulous. With 8 days, I mean, we'd love to see you get pushed past that 30,000 mark. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's really gratifying. It's nice. And in sending all these things out, it's a lot of them, and there's a real hassle with my wife of having to send this shit out with going overseas and foreign stuff.
Yeah.
But I have people, I have fans all over the world. I'm international. Whoa, really? Yeah. Norway, Sweden, Canada, of course, and where else? Australia, and I think Germany and Austria. But yeah, which is great. That's really gratifying. And I had no idea. I didn't know. I don't know, but didn't know anybody was really paying attention. You know, it's strange because, like I would say, that this is done. It's actually performing. You know, doing cartooning, but the performing is done in a dark corner at night. You know, and all by yourself, and you can't hear the applause very well from there. Which is why we do conventions and stuff. So.
Well, I think the Kickstarter is definitely one version of that applause, Larry, that shows that there's a lot of fans that appreciate everything that you've accomplished over the years, and they're really excited to have kind of that Sherry book with all the different cartoons that you've done over the years all in one. I think that's absolutely fabulous, especially for someone who can't get a hold of one of those original copies, which you can find on eBay, but they get a little expensive for some folks. So
yeah, some of them are getting expensive.
yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it was interesting. Here, this
Oh, look at that.
proofreading this thing when it was going to press and looking through 40 years of well, actually it's 30 years of stuff because I took a break in around 2000, but it's the 40th anniversary. But anyway, going through it and proofreading all that to make sure that everything was all in order and stuff like that, and go, oh yeah, oh, this is when I was doing that. Oh yeah, oh I remember that. Oh yeah, it was very strange.
Triggering all kinds of memories, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, and it seems like wow, that's a lot of stuff, 600 and some pages, but over 30 years, 22 issues over 30 years. I forget what it came out to, but it comes like 1.3 books a year, which is not very prolific, really, but eventually the accumulation comes up. But yeah. So, but I'm really slow. I'm never really worked as a pro. I don't use deadlines usually. I mean, done stuff for other people where I had deadlines, but this is not, it's not like a periodical where it comes out like Superman and Batman or something. But
yeah.
So yeah, so being a laid back hippie and stuff like that, so I just take my own sweet time.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
It seems to work out. It seemed to work out, Larry.
Yeah, it did.
Now, now, Larry, what was the inspiration to get into art to begin with? Do you remember what sparked it? Were you into like regular comic books under the comics code and all that good stuff at the time? And then you're like, man, this story would be a lot better if I could add some of these other real life experiences that we go through. And of course, at that time, the comics code wouldn't allow that type of stuff in comic books. Thus, I think that underground started, right?
Uh-huh. Okay. It's all Harvey Kurtzman's fault. The whole underground comics thing that was Harvey Kurtzman is mad.
Yeah.
And I actually remember reading some mad comics that my big brother brought home before I could read. and wondering this Will Elder artwork, what the hell is going on in here? This is some strange shit. And later on in about fifth or sixth grade, Mad Magazine, it had become a magazine then. I remember reading the first one that was a magazine, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And the whole idea of poking fun at that the authority was to be mocked and to be questioned and stuff like that. And then they started putting out the old comics in digest form, paperbacks. And I didn't even know what that was. I thought it was just mad paperbacks. I didn't realize it was reprints of the old comics. But that was the greatest, and all that stuff. Wally Wood, who was my idol, and Jack Davis and Willie Elder, mostly, and little digest size, and they were in black and white, which is interesting. I was thinking about it, that those guys, their artwork worked perfectly well in black and white. You didn't even notice that it wasn't colored, and the coloring in, especially with Wally Wood's stuff, it's mostly black anyway, so the colors didn't have much to do. But there was just fill because all the shading was already done in black and white and stuff. But that was the form that the first underground comics took. Digest size and in black and white on newsprint. And yeah, so it's but yeah, and I just loved that shit, the whole attitude of it, and the mocking and making fun of stuff like that. And I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I did that with my with the back of my notebooks and stuff like that. I would do just drawing. And I ended up starting drawing superhero parodies, which I did. Captain Guts idea, and that was in the 60s. I got my comics from the spinner rack at the drugstore, right? There was 2 or 3 spinner racks that I spent hours down there. I read all those books, didn't buy any of them, but I read all. But they were terrible. The Superman and Batman were just terrible. Yeah. He said that, and the villains were much more interesting characters than the heroes. Yeah. The heroes were dull and boring, and so I had made this redneck superhero that would are beating up hippies after drank a beer, and he turned into sort of like Wonder Warthog, I guess. But anyway, yeah, and so that was the idea, and I did that in the back of class.
Yeah, and
then when I got up to San Francisco, I hitchhiked across the bay to Berkeley and took stuff that I had done and to the print mint, because I'd seen the Yellow Dog that they were doing, a tabloid, and that was really, really good stuff. Really interesting, this weird off the wall shit. And they printed it and stuff, and that all went. And that was Don Schenker that did that as print mint, and he was like I don't know, he was like my Jewish uncle or something like that. He took care of. He showed me how to do color separations and all this shit. And this, now all of us, he did. He would start stuff and put it out there, and it's great when you see it in print. You go, oh yeah, that's what it looks like. And all right, yeah, I should have done it better than that. And yeah, and that's why I went through that, and that's how it got going.
What was your first character that you created that was published, Larry? You remember?
They see.
It wasn't Sherry, right? Sherry came a little bit later, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, Captain Gus was my first regular character.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And when I first did things in Yellow Dog, that was the first thing I did. But excuse me, the first of it I did was Joe Bad, Private Eye or something like that. And then I did a Garbage Man, Garbage Man as a superhero. But I didn't, continue them or anything like that. But that was my first characters.
Yeah. Because it was more, I think Yellow Dog was more of an anthology, right? So it was a lot of
Yeah,
short stories and which was pretty
yeah,
cool. Yeah. Because there was a bunch of them at the time, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was what were some of the other? It was Yellow Dog. Wasn't there a couple others? The American Flyer Funnies, I think you did some stuff in as well, right?
yeah. That's what I did. Three Captain Guts, and it started selling and getting popular. So I immediately started doing something else because I didn't want to be typecast.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not all I can do. Which was probably a mistake. I don't know. But then I just did a one-offs, experimental stuff.
Yeah.
Just American Flyer and Monolith, which I did just because I like the net sound of the word.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and just they were just the one. Well, I did two American Flyers, and but it was just messing around. I didn't really have a theme or anything like that, and so it didn't really catch on. But no, whatever. It was fun, and it still went. And yeah, and what in San Francisco comic book, Gary Arlington's book that he did some, and but yeah, and that actually, about Cherry, when I did Cherry Pop Tart, I did that as a one off. I was thinking of it as a one off. I just put number one on it just because it was, looking like an Archie style comic, and just okay. It was more of a proof of concept thing. Oh yeah, I got an idea for a comic that looks something like this, but it'd be better.
Yeah.
And have all the old dirty jokes about fucking the teacher and taking the gal for a ride out in the car and so, oh, you fucker walk. Anyway, and I did it and it goes, okay, there you go. And then next year or something like that. Anyway, I was went to a seminar on selling humorous illustration. So I was doing freelance illustration for spot illustrations for magazines and stuff like that. I'm trying to sell them, and and the editor for Playboy was there, and Ron Turner was there, and this was actually at California College of Arts and Crafts, where I'd gone to school just before the Summer of Love in San Francisco. And so after I graduated in '66, I went up there and I did one semester, and I failed all my classes, even though I was really good at them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we checked across the bay and hung out with the hippies and shit like that. But
The rest is history, huh?
yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah. Well, how did you know, like what was the sign that you saw that Cherry Pop Tart was like that was the one that was going to be the character
Oh,
that's
right. Yeah, that was what I was saying was that, Ron came up to me at this seminar and said, "What are you doing here? The book is selling. Go and do some more." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I had to think up some more. And when I got through with all the dirty jokes, then I had to come up with something else. And so then I started doing the satire, the whatever, the mocking social things that Mad Magazine showed me, Harvey Kurtzman, and so getting into the anarchistic thing, and realizing, okay, sex sells, so sex is the hook.
Yeah.
I get in there, and then I can feed them my anarchist propaganda.
There you go. Yeah. So you did 22 issues. Was that the complete run, Larry, or were there more than that with Cherry Pop Tart?
No, I did one more then, and yeah, this one here,
Oh yeah.
23,
Oh, look at that.
and yeah, and this I started a story in there that I've been continuing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I get started in with the 22. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I'm trying to build it up to a graphic novel or something like that, but I'm very slow, and though it's coming along slowly, but yeah, so it's still going. Like I said, I took a year or so off, and now I'm getting back into it. And everything is different now, of course. It's very strange.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But I mean, I think anybody that's a Cherry fan is excited to know that you're still drawing her and writing stories about her and all of her friends getting into all that craziness, which I think is why people love it, right?
Uh-huh. I guess so.
I guess so, huh? Well, what I wanted to do, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna quickly just share my screen. Give me a second while I pull it up. Would love to look at your Kickstarter, Larry, if that's okay, just so
Oh,
people can
sure. Yeah.
see it real fast. Yeah, let's pull it up here. All right, here we go. So here is the current campaign that is on Kickstarter right now. As I mentioned, there's 8 days to go. Larry, you're doing quite well. 541 individual backers. So I do feel very bad for your wife. That's a lot of packing. So, wow, that's a lot of individual packages. But yeah, I would say your goal, you've surpassed it a little bit. You've done all right on the goal there.
Huh?
But yeah, just a beautiful project that you have going together. Let's take a look at it. I mean, this is very inexpensive to get in, to be able to have this historic book with, I think it covers how many of the issues, or is it a little bit of
This
each
is
issue?
there was four Cherry Jubilee,
Mm-hmm.
starting with this one,
Okay, yeah.
and then this one,
Nice. Yeah.
and then this one, the superhero one.
Yeah.
Marv Wolfman did me Teen Titans and the X-Men thing.
Yep.
He put his name on it at the time, but no, I can't. Anyway, and then this one here. So there's four of them, and they're all collected together in this wonderful thing here.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of this was to have other artists and creators do something with Cherry. And so
Okay.
I would do a lead story in it, and then there'd be other stuff. So it's a variety of things there and different takes on it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So graphic novel, $25 is a steal. If you go on Kickstarter, they're anywhere from 25 to $50. So I think that is great. And then you got a whole bunch of other ones here. If you're a wholesaler, there's quite a good deal on picking up if you want to grab those for your comic shop. But look at that, exclusive covers. Just beautiful. Beautiful, Larry. Beautiful. So we'll make sure that as we push this out to everybody, we put the links to make it very simple for everyone to get over to Kickstarter. Like I said, 8 days left, plenty of time for a bunch of people to jump in that are not aware that this graphic novel is out. And it looks like it takes in four amazing issues of Cherry and Jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get that right, Larry? Am I leaving anything
Oh, yeah.
out?
No, it's perfect.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Larry, I can't tell you how exciting it is to be able to speak to you. I know it seems surreal and maybe you don't I don't know, may feel weird to you, but I mean, for someone like yourself to be at the front lines, especially in the indie scene, and I know the indie scene was much different then than it is today, but there are some similarities. Marvel and DC, and even some of the larger independent publishers, they have a lot of rules around what you can and cannot do within comic books. And I understand they have a certain audience, but independent comics is all about bringing forth whatever it is that you're passionate about. And you did that at the very beginning. And because of you and others at that time that laid that foundation, I think indie comics are where it is today. And yeah, you get all kinds of different perspectives in indie comics that you couldn't get in mainstream comics. And I think people owe you a thank you for, you might not have noticed it at the time what you were doing, Larry, but independent comics definitely owes you a thank you because it is strong today. And a lot of people are able to bring forth, what they believe in through independent comics that wouldn't be picked up by the mainstream. So on behalf of a few of us, thank you, Larry.
Yeah, well, that's the free speech. That was the freedom of speech. That was what we were celebrating and exercising. And thing that with independent comics, and we're not, beholden to the Marvel and now there's rules and stuff like that. And I got it. And actually, it was S. Clay Wilson
Wow.
that he didn't kick the door open. He showed us that the door was wide open, that we could do whatever the hell we wanted.
Yeah.
Go, oh yeah, whoa, you can even do. Wow, yeah, we can do that too. Oh hell yes, and and the idea of that I'm taking this cute teenage sex thing.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot of it, so they could do everything. They could do sex, but it was usually associated with violence and stuff. There was a lot of that too. And so I go, well, maybe if I do it where sex was nice and a good thing and a fun thing and doesn't, and Carrie's not a victim. That's the one thing there. And I don't even preach about it or say it or anything, but women still pick up on that, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But the idea that if you have explicit sex, or if you're going to do a story with sex in it, then put sex in it. You can, but putting sex in it somehow that not made it dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, well, why is that dangerous? That's amusing. So
I was reading an article, Larry, as I was getting ready to get on with you, and it was about comic shops in Canada that the government was coming in and giving them a lot of legal issues for selling comic books, like Yellow Dog, like what was the other one? Funny Books or Country Comics. I don't know if you remember that in the 60s, but I think even a bunch of cartoonists at the time created a fund to help them with their legal issues.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like you said, freedom of speech, although Canada has their own rules and regulations, but still it was happening in the United States too, right? Where people were really going after you guys because of your expression.
Oh, yeah. Well, there is when was that? The Meese report, Edwin Meese. It was a big deal about pornography. That was a whole thing for a while, years. It was great. Yeah, and with some comic book shop in where was it got busted with the Zap, the infamous Zap with the Joe Blow story in it and stuff like that, and I didn't get mentioned in that because I think they were all sold out of my books. But in
That's a good thing. That's
report,
a good thing.
there's this huge, thick thing, the Senate investigation. And it was like the anti-communist things in the 50s. It was almost like that.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm pretty sure. I mean, I didn't get the damn thing and read it. It was like 500 pages of shit, but I'm pretty sure that I'm mentioned in there.
I'm sure. I'm sure Cherry Pop Tart's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, we come a long way, Larry. Now that connotation on those type of comic books no longer exist. Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all these crowdfunding sites have created a platform for those type of creators to really get their work out there. And to be honest, I think that independent comics as a whole is as big as some of the mainstream comic book publishers if you were to take them all and put them together. So I think independent comics are in a really healthy state right now. And I love it. I mean, I'm a big comic book nerd. I love DC. I love Marvel. I'm actually at my daughter's house because she just had a baby. And so we're in Utah, but usually behind me, I have all my figures and toys and comic books and all that stuff as my backdrop. But today I probably spend 65-70% of my money on independent comics as opposed to the other ones, just because I love the unique stories that are coming out of creators.
Oh yeah. It's great, all the different forms it is taking.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are other things other than superheroes fighting it out and having all this terrible angst.
Yeah.
Fighting, and then they got angst, and then they're fighting, but there is other things to do, and so it's yeah.
Now, Larry,
done some amazing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. How often are you getting out to like comic book conventions? Are you doing quite a bit of those still?
No, not a whole lot. But well, the local one that we got here.
Mm-hmm.
the Phoenix one, well, they sort of phased out the comic book people, and so, but I have one coming up in Sacramento. And when is that?
September.
In September.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna write
And
that down and I'll put that on there too.
yeah.
Because I could tell you if there's 550 or 600 people that end up supporting you on Kickstarter, they're gonna be collectors. They're gonna be looking for you to get your signature on that book. I guarantee
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I'm gonna be doing a signing in shop in Las Vegas
Oh, okay.
next weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fandom verse.
What is it?
Fandomverse.
Fandomverse.
Oh, Fandomverse. Yes, I'm aware of that one. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll put that down there too because I think people that have some of the old copies would like to get those signed by you too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what they're doing. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's the conventions. Well, I've been making all that much money and stuff like that, and then going traveling and going to them and getting it. Actually, I can't even get into some of them, like the Seattle one and the Portland one and the Denver one. Let's see, everybody loves me at these places,
Yeah.
but I can't be a guest at these
Why?
conventions because I'm not family friendly.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know about that. I
I
think
have cooties.
you have cooties. Oh, Larry. It's funny because I mean everyone knows your work, right? And you've been doing it for a long time. But you have these new creators that their comic books have the same type of content, and I see them in these shows. They're just not well known. So the cooties are more hidden for those folks than it is for you, I guess. But that's silliness. That's silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, what do you do?
Yeah. All right. But that's the whole gag that I got. So I kind of
Yeah.
I keep running with it, even though it's not just a fuck book. It's
Yeah.
it's satire. So
Exactly. And I would think Seattle and Portland would be perfect places for that type of stuff because,
absolutely.
yeah, it makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that I could get to one of these events where you're at. I would love to meet you in person, Larry. You and a lot of these other folks that you had mentioned really have put indie comics where it is today. And I hope you realize that because independent comics is very strong right now, and you had a lot to do with that.
All right. Well, thank you. Yes. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Larry, anything that we're missing that we want to touch with everybody? Did we cover everything?
I think we did. I can't think of anything right offhand.
What I'll do is I'll put all the links for the Kickstarter. I'll put the dates of where people could meet you at the couple events that you had provided for me in Sacramento and in Las Vegas.
Okay.
That way, hopefully, people get the news, and then I will blast this all over social media,
Okay.
and hopefully get. Man, it would be awesome to get you to at least 600 backers. Again, I feel really bad for your wife. I've done it before and I've done 100 and it took me like 2 days. I'm like, man, I mean, I'm excited that 100 people back me, but I can't even imagine 541. That's a lot of labor. It's a lot of work.
Oh
But
yeah. Well, the omnibus is terrible because it's so big and then so it's right. The special boxes that we have to do an extra score on it because the fold is not big enough for it. And it comes out to right around 4 pounds,
wow.
which is the cutoff thing for sending it overseas to where it gets really, really expensive.
Yeah,
It's really expensive already, but yeah. Oh yeah. But she's trucking along. She's doing it. She's holding up.
yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, she'll get in your ear later and say, "No, I'm not."
Yeah, right.
But you seem like you're both an amazing team. I'm so glad to see Cherry still going strong. And Larry, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to meet you. You really are a legend in the industry. And thank you so much for allowing me some time to get to know you. And I hope we could do this again the next time that you do a Kickstarter.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for doing this and having me. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, my friend, and we will talk soon.
Okay.
All right.